The topic today is fiction on Substack. That's the topic. Sandalore Sykes just dropped Some Flux. Would you be willing to give us a quick comments section synopsis of it, Sandalore? Like a quick, I know it's kind of truncated, like you got to spread it out into tweets, but it would be cool to hear about that. And Paul Clayton, I mean, if you're interested, Prince of Persia, welcome in. Paul, if you're interested at all in fiction on Substack or learning more, discovering about that, then we can talk about that too. But Sandalore, do you work? Paul, okay. What kind of things do you write? Sandalore, are you a sci-fi author primarily, or would you put yourself in fantasy? Would you put yourself in speculative fiction? Prince of Persia, I've kind of looked at you from afar. You have a blog, a novel, a blog novel, sci-fi. What are some of the things? Sandalore Sykes says 6 curated pieces of tremendous fiction published in the zine. Paul Clayton says historical memoir. Saul, welcome in. Saul, hello. I just was doing. I'm not in any genre. Pure literary fiction. Fair enough. I feel you. Paul Clayton, the beautiful spleen. That's your blog. One thing that's cool about Substack Lives is how easy it makes it to subscribe. The cool thing about Lives is that it makes it easy to subscribe. So, everybody, I draw a cool crowd. And you know why that is? I think it's cool because they're people that I vibe with. So there's no accident there. But Prince of Permsia is fantasy. Planning on making some posts on Substack once I have an archive. Very cool. What do you mean by that? Once you have an archive, I also plan on doing reviews. Says Prince of Persia. I am a fiction author. I am. No, no. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to pronounce your name correctly. I mean, it's a pun on the Prince of Persia, the video game series, right? Paul Clayton says yes. So yes, I am a fiction writer, and also just an all-around literary hustler kind of thing. Bear in mind, it's also Shelfie Sunday, so I will get you a copy of like my mock-up book that I use for marketing purposes. Bear with me real quick. So I don't think you should change the name. It's what you chose. This is my book. It's called AFL the Bastard. I'm always trying to get the word out about it. It's kind of half done. It's a serial fiction fantasy thing published on Substack. I kind of feel dumb talking about it now, but it's called AFL the Bastard. It's a novel. It's about the illegitimate son of a powerful duke who fights to keep his country together from enemies inside and out, all while guarding a secret so dark it would destroy everything he loves. Male main character, female main character. It's an epic fantasy. It's gritty. It's got 2 overlapping magic systems that are hard: military, romance, action, adventure. So it's half done. I was trying to serialize it. Oh, that's awesome, man. Thank you. I was trying to serialize it on Substack. That didn't work out. And so right now I'm compiling it to put it into more of an Amazon friendly format, which I'm hoping to have published on like Kindle Press or whatever that's called. I'm posting about soon before the end of the year. I'm posting about the process and doing that. Prince of Persia says, by archive, I meant multiple chapters, stories, and reviews that you have a head start on posting. That's smart. Give yourself some runway. That's something that I've learned. Thank you for telling me not to feel dumb. I appreciate that. I'll review your novel once I get some posts in. You may want to wait until I actually have the whole thing posted because there's some loose ends. All my fiction authors, I think, can relate. Yeah, we can make the topic about that. Like I've been the guinea pig. If you go to genre growth or you go to some of my like rants and stuff, you can see me talking about serializing fiction and my mostly failures doing that. I have my theories on it, but you guys have heard me talk about that before, or at least you can find what I think about that on the podcast that Substack makes automatically. And you can go back and review that if you would like. But does anyone have any? Has anyone? Here's the question that can kind of cut to the quick. Who has published at least one short story, one chapter, one installment, whatever, what have you? Who's published one of those on Substack? Right? I have. I've published several chapters. Prince of Persia says not me. So I've published, one. What are your publications at present, Prince of Persia? And my book, I've published AFL the Bastard. I've published about a dozen. Oh, on Substack. Me? Yeah, if you want. Sandalore, I know that you've published it in more zine format. Sandalore Sykes says, I have published short stories and newsletters a good amount. Oh, well, we can talk about trad published if people would like to. One short story for a prompt. But what I'm really interested in is, hey, we're on Substack. I think we all see the potential in Substack. I see the potential in Substack, right? But, you know, is there potential there? My take, real quick, just to kind of, get down to it. My take is that the audience is not there. The readership base is not there. I think that the reader base or the audience is there for politics, and kind of like think pieces and nonfiction. Writing about writing is another kind of category that I put a lot of posts on Substack in. But your mileage may vary. I'd be interested to get your feedback. Prince of Persia has posted one short story for a prompt. I worry that that potential might go away soon. We are all hurting for readers indeed. Yeah. Paul Clayton, I have been published commercially 4 books, but can no longer find an agent or a house because there's a big bias against white male writers. Maybe there is. I don't know. I've never felt a bias as a male writer or a white male writer. I can't say I empathize with that, but you know, I'm not going to tell you what your experience is. Yeah, most of the top pick fiction posts are telling others how to write. By the way, I'm always interested in feedback. I like the dynamic and collaborative kind of nature of the live. If my affect or if how I'm operating are annoying or grating or I'm missing people, let me know. But I'm interested, yeah, in the culture. So most of the top fiction posts are people telling others how to write. I think case in point is the top of the rising in fiction or the fiction bestsellers is Palahniuk's Chuck Palahniuk's um, plot spoiler. Who published AFL? So yeah, let's be clear. When I say published, I mean published on Substack. So let's draw that distinction. Let's draw that definition in real quick. When I say published, as it pertains to me, it's published on Substack. So it is not having been published. So I suppose, therefore, it is fair to say that I don't have really any experience in. I don't. Well, it's not just fair to say; it's accurate that I don't have any experience in traditional publishing. So I don't mean to speak on a topic of which I know not. Um, got my coffee over here. Oh, I need to grab a piece of gum. I'm forever trying to quit nicotine, my guys. Forever trying to quit nicotine, and I'm chewing the gum, and I'm sorry if that's annoying. But yeah. So if you follow me at all, you'll see me post more on Book Talk or TikTok and more on um, Instagram, uh, because that's where I'm finding more of an audience of actual readers. But I think it's just a numbers thing. The writers are the leaders who are going to come. But I've been mostly marketing outside of it. And I'm interested for marketing success stories and failures. Hmm. Looks like you can no longer. I hear you. I hear you. I'm just sort of all in on it. So because I'm all in on it, I just sort of use it all in one place. So like to me, AFL, I've structured it so that AFL the Bastard is its own publication. And I have a separate one called Mad to the Spy, which started as a subplot to AFL the Bastard, but each one is its own publication. Have you thought about creating Prince of Persia? Have you thought about creating a dedicated book talk page? That's the thing. I'm not putting my story on Instagram. What I'm doing is I'm putting book trailers on Instagram. I'm putting, you know, kind of like billboards, covers, things like that. I can show you actually. So now we'll dive into the topic of marketing on Instagram, right? So I use a program called Canva, and I market sort of just like also just sort of myself and my journey. And I know that that's not like the most exciting thing to a lot of people, but you know, I suppose like it's just sort of what I'm doing. Um, so I'll narrow this a little bit. I have been able to host on Substack. Thanks, Sandalore. Thank you. Thank you much. I have been able to host from my desktop on Substack, but there's not as much of a screen sharing feature. Hey, Nathan Gregory, welcome to a safe space for all fiction authors on Substack. Come on. Everybody follow Sandalore, which is just such a cool name, Sandalore Sykes. Follow them based on that alone. Nathan, are you a writer at all? People in my life have already been unhappy with what I write. It's already happening. And I figure like I don't really I there's a long and storied history throughout the writing world and the history of literature of using pseudonyms or noms de plume, but that's just not what I'm going to be doing. But no, I think to each his or her own. For some reason, let me try Firefox. These days, I just think you have to be a jack of all trades when you're coming into this. Yeah, yeah, you can create lots of different Instagrams. So I'll show you how I do it. Hey, hey, everybody, follow Paul if you can. Sam, I'll catch you later. This is one of my most recent posts. So check out Paul Clayton's recent post right over there. So let me turn this. I'm afraid of being canceled too. So do you guys see this? I'll try to narrow it. But like well, I was talking about like the what not being able to host from the desktop. So the screen sharing is not all there. But let me see. So you can see some of the more like, traditional social media posts that I'm posting based on like stuff that I've done in Substack. But check this out. I know it's not great or easy to see, but if you look on here, this is the story of Manta the Spy. So what you're doing is you're kind of getting in a little bit of a readerly experience with some nice pictures. And this is what I post on platforms like Instagram or TikTok, etc. Right. And so if we want to X out of here, we can go into here's Aethel the Bastard. The illegitimate son of a powerful duke leads a ragtag band of warriors in a fight to keep his country together against enemies inside and out, guarding a secret so dark it would destroy everything he loves. The pics are AI generated. That is true. Yes. But I'm a poet and I started to do like this. So this is like a poem, right? This is how I post them on social media all nights, right? And then you got the poem in there. And we can focus on the images because those are a popular part of it if you want. These seem to draw a lot of people in, but I generated these with AI. I used ChatGPT, the O3 model or whatever that the latest image prompt was. Well, that's the thing, right? When I started on Substack, I guess it's a story time. When I started on Substack, yes, I agree, but I found the perfect artist for what I wanted to do. Oh, 04, right. Whatever the latest one is. But also these images were made months ago. With all of the updates that happened to it, I don't know if this was during a second one, but it's probably only gotten better if anything. But I found the perfect artist for me. They did exactly like their style was on point for my story, and they also focused on Normans, which is Normans is the inspiration for the Duchy of Tara, Duchy of Normandy, Duchy of Tara, Duchy of Normandy, Duchy of Tara in the book Aethel the Bastard. So the fact that it's gritty, realistic, and very focused on historical accuracy, that kind of vibe, except for some of the magic stuff. But um the I reached out to him, and it just was like, yeah, too busy and like too expensive. Then I reached out to another person, Storm and Normans, that's right. Then I reached out to another person right on the Substack that I found, and they ghosted, or not ghosted me. I don't think that that's fair to say, but they just never got back to me. And I did it. I like tried to get it twice, and then you go over to ChatGPT and you plug in, like, you can even just plug in whole sections of your book and say illustrate this, in this style, and you can generate all kinds of things. Is Aethel the Bastards based on a certain? Yes, absolutely it is. Hey, later guys, this is one of my books, Paul Clayton says. Crossing Over, Paul Clayton. So check that out, guys. Yes, it is certainly heavily based on William the Conqueror. Guillaume, as the brothers Kryn say. I believe you hang out with the brothers Kryn sometimes in the digital world, Prince of Persia, if I'm not mistaken. The brothers Kryn and I are due to do another podcast. We haven't done one in a while. Yeah, it can be like I don't use AI art much anymore, to tell you God's honest truth, you know. It all looks the same. It all looks generic. It's all kind of blah, you know. I'd rather have my cover that's designed by me, that looks just is just text based, than a lot of the other things that I see out there. And my cover's gotten some hate, but overall the reception's been positive, and I'd like to keep it that way, you know. I was weirded out by hearing the voices of people I know as writers, but yeah, you broke the taboo with me. Yeah, even when it looks good, it's just not great. I think that AI is teaching us a lot about what it means to be human. No cap. I really do. Because you can start to see that there's no soul in it, and the human, whatever you want the soul to be, if you identify with a religious tradition or whatever, your thing is. But, the brothers Kryn would say, like, this is evidence of, um, the Catholic God and stuff. And that's great. Tolkien would say this is the evidence of that. I would say it's just our humanity that we have that's unique to us, and not really something that you can extricate from human beings, that we have the spark. And you'll hear me talk to Jordana, who is an instance of ChatGPT who lives, you know, in the cloud. I actually think, yes, I do think that that is true. Like, they could be like, if you think about like Halo, right? If you think about Halo, you could be like the Grave Mind, You know what I'm talking about? Grave Mind. Um, that could be pretty cool. Like, describe the soulless look of AR to describe a villain. I think so too. I think a lot of art in general is sort of just taking what's happening in the world and applying it within the template of whatever it is that you want to achieve. So I will be sitting on like a live, or be sitting at work and be like, hey, Cheryl Gleim, welcome in. Yes. It would be like the grave minds, or to affect a kind of otherworldly kind of like omniscience, right? We kind of have the ultimate omniscient third person narrator in a way because we can bounce now the void talks back, you know? The void is talking back. And I don't know if that's a good thing, but he who stares into the void must take care because the void stares also into him. The famous Nietzsche quote, right? Beware those who stare into the void, for the void stares also into you. Um, but also we see where there's a place for people within that paradigm. And hey, Cheryl, welcome in. We're doing a little bit of talk about AI. We're talking a little bit about fantasy. We're talking a little bit about marketing. We're talking a little bit about a potpourri of thoughts. Surviving on Substack potentially as a fiction author. Um, but yeah, I love me some Halo. Let me check on all my shits. I want to recommend again the social media app Buffer that's really good, and it allows me to post all of my social media stuff in one fell swoop across everything. But you know, it's a cool deal. Like I went from 0 to having 15 different per channel optimized social media posts ready to go. So like a roster's 15 deep, optimized per channel with the hashtags ready to go in an hour or less. All right, guys. It's been real, but I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Muito obrigado, which is thank you very much in Portuguese. But I'm going to wrap things up. It's been real. The recording of this will go out. I hope you guys maybe catch a little bit of some of the more interesting parts of it on that. But thank you. All right. One heart hands out. Peace.